I was a career bank robber. I saw something last night that changed that. Why do you need my name? Don't you have it? Fine. Sorry, I'm still shaken up. You won't believe what happened to me. And I mean that in the most literal sense. Start from the beginning. I'll do my best. 27 banks in 3 years. Anything to catch the perfect wave. That was the tagline on the poster of the 1991 action thriller starring Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. 2 FBI agents attempt to track and apprehend a group of LA bank robbers before their last job of the season. After that, they'll be gone until the next summer. That movie inspired me. I wanted that lifestyle of easy money, adrenaline, and free living. I'm sure a movie like that might have inspired the good guys to go the other way. To see FBI agents working their butts off to put the bad guys behind bars. I guess I just wasn't built like that. Bodhi, Swayze's character, was intelligent. He was handsome, charismatic, athletic. Everything a young man strives for in his formative years. I was maybe 9 or 10 when I first saw that movie, so I was impressionable. I'm not going to say I lived my life by that movie or anything. I don't surf, and I've never surfed, in fact. The older that I got, the thing that kept most to me was how they worked. As I progressed in my bank robbing career, I saw the guys I worked with stuck to that basic style. Get in, get cash from the register, don't go to the vault. By the first time that I did my first job, banks were much easier to hit. As with everything, technology was limited in the bank system. Most areas that I hit didn't have the ceiling-to-floor bulletin blast-proof glass. You could jump over the teller and force them to give you every bit of cash they had in the register. 2 minutes was the standard. One guy kept time, making sure that we didn't stay over that mark. After that, it was ghost time. As the years went by, tactics changed. And dye packs were becoming more popular, and we worked around that. And glass started going up, security beefed up. A lot more planning was necessary to come away with the maximum amount of return possible. I became a part of that process the more experience that I got. I worked my way through the ranks of bank robbers. That also meant I was entitled to a larger slice of the pie when all was said and done. I always looked at this as a real job. This is how I made my money and financed my own life. I never married, never had any kids, and didn't have many real relationships. It's kind of hard when your life is taking part in felony jobs every month. I always carried the necessary amount of firepower that the job called for. Thankfully, I never had to use it. Like the point man always said to the customers and employees, "This isn't your money, it's insured." No one had to die for a few $1,000s. I fortunately never ran into any heroes that wanted to cause problems during the robbery. No rent-a-cop security guards, no off-duty cops ever tried to stop us. We were too good and too fast. The quicker we were in and out, the quicker everyone could go about their lives. After a good decade, I finally acquired my own dream crew. Turbo was our getaway driver and vehicle guy. He always had a line on a new hot ride. He had his own connections to a vehicle that could disappear as needed, and it was always fast. Turbo knew how to drive like the devil. Tree was the main enforcer in my crew. He came highly recommended from a friend of mine I started with but got out of the business fairly early on in life. I'm not sure where he went, but I imagined he followed the felon's retirement plan. Either he died, or he's sitting on a Mexican beach somewhere. He gave me Tree, and that's all I need to remember about him. Tree was an intimidator. A real bad dude who had no qualms about busting someone's nose with the stock of an 870 shotgun if they needed it. It showed the rest of the folks in the bank to just lay down and let what was happening happen. The closest thing I had to a best friend in the business was my second in charge, We simply called him the timekeeper. He oversaw the time that we got in and the time that we exited. He kept all of us honest and on track. He also served the dual purpose of planning the hits with me. Supposedly, he had a master's degree of psychology from the University of Los Angeles. None of us got too personal with each other. That was one of our hard, fast rules. Don't get too close. I've lost one or two guys during a job. I don't want to get into that right now, though. And that brings us back to me, the star of the show. They call me Hollywood. I have a penchant for theatrics, I suppose. I found myself becoming the leader or point man the more that I did these jobs. I had a natural way of speaking with people that were getting robbed. I don't want to brag, but I consider myself kind of attractive. I just happened to have that long, sandy blonde hair that Swayze had in Point Break. I guess I was always meant to follow in Bodhi's footsteps. As poetic as it would be, we didn't wear ex-president masks or anything. Our standard dress was tactical type pants, jackets, and ski masks. Classic but practical. I did follow the ex-president's method though. We hit a specific group of banks in a period of 3 to 4 months and then we were gone, leaving the local and federal law enforcement groups scratching their heads, waiting for us to strike again. When that would be, well, we made that hard to guess. The worst part of my job is always looking over your shoulder. When we weren't working, we lived normal lives. As normal as they could be. I always scanned my daily life though, seeing if I was being followed by strange-looking vans, sweeping my home for bugs, and keeping up with the police blotter. It was worth it though, to live a lavish life and to have everything you ever wanted, just by knocking off a few banks every year. The last job I did changed all of that. I don't know what I saw that night. I'm sure I'll never know, and I'll be haunted until the day that I die. Do you want me to go on with it? The only difference in this job was the time that we did it, for starters. Usually, I planned on going into the bank in the middle of the day. A good 2 p.m. job was the best. Statistically, the lowest traffic time for bank activity. Today, though, for some reason I scoped out this bank that closed at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. I wish I never hit this one. I thought we would get a much bigger return than what we were looking at. The bank closed at 9 on this particular day. That means that 1 hour before close, they should have the maximum amount of cash in the registers before they put it back into the vault for the night. These days, there isn't as much cash transactions, so it's hard to predict how much we could get. It's become something of a crapshoot as to how much we could come away with. This isn't ideal for a highly skilled group like us. We would like to know as close as possible to what we exactly were looking at stealing. This night we didn't steal anything. I was stolen from. My crew was all set up. Turbo was in the driver's seat of the Monte Carlo. I was in the passenger seat. Tree and Timekeeper were in the back. The bank was running as it was supposed to. Nothing out of the ordinary. The sun was just starting to dip. Still plenty of light. We always worked best in the light. We didn't worry about being seen. It would be impossible to identify us anyway. We all wore the exact same dress with the exact same ski masks. Today we chose green. No reason. We all had similar builds, especially with the Kevlar body protection. Except for Tree. He towered over the rest of us. The plan was in motion, and it should have carried out like every other time. But it didn't. Hollywood did his thing. That's me if you forget. I'd become accustomed to speaking about myself in the third person, like a true Hollywood man. Everyone on the ground, palms down. No one needs to get hurt tonight. All your money is insured. The bank will be fine. You'll be fine. Is how I started it. Like always. Tree threw one of these security guards to the ground, aiming his shotgun at his head. He scanned the room like a menacing sentinel. I heard these squealing tires as Turbo took off around the block. He would swing back around in a minute and a half to pick us up. No reason to have the evidence parked out in front in case the police showed up early, which they never did. We had tested the response time several times over the last few weeks to this place. The first squad car showed up in 3 minutes, and that gave us plenty of time. 1 minute 40, timekeeper screamed. We are only there for 20 seconds, and that was our cue to start getting moving. I walked up to the teller window. Tree walked beside me to the other window. Our eyes usually convey what we need from the employees. Just put the money through the little slot, lady. And they did as they were told, even though we didn't say a word. We both watched as they shoved hundreds and then thousands of dollars under the little opening under the window. Multiple bills with Benjamin, Jackson, and Hamilton flooded into our duffels. We didn't bother with the small bills. As I watched the money pour in, humming the "We're in the Money" tune inside my head, the lights went black. As I said, it was still very much light outside. Now it was black. No light from the windows, no light from the inside. The ugly fluorescent lights shut down. They didn't break or anything, they just went dead. What the heck is going on, Hollywood? Did you plan on cutting the power? Tree yelled. I didn't plan this. Keep your cool, Tree. I don't know what this is, but just grab what you have and start making your way toward the door. Hey, TK, what's our time? No response. TK, where we at? Again, nothing. Tree, let's go, I yelled, my voice showing more concern than I would like. I didn't hear a soul breathing in that place. I figured they had already left. I zipped up my bag and headed for what I thought was the exit. When I turned around, I expected to see the red faint glow of an exit sign above the front door, as is standard with all commercial and government-owned buildings. I saw nothing. I started yelling for anyone in my crew to sound off, and then I saw it. Surrounded by darkness, a woman appeared in front of me. I dropped my gun and slowly started walking toward her. I was caught in her gaze. I felt like everything was okay. I felt an intense, warm feeling of acceptance. I was getting closer and closer without walking on my own. After being moved to this woman, I stopped a foot away from her. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, 2 red pupils stared back at me. My body was frozen in shock for what felt like an eternity. The eyes lit up like the fire of Hades, and now I could make out the rest of her face. Her nose was gone. Her mouth opened impossibly large, revealing no teeth or tongue, just a void of black. I could feel her inhaling, like she was preparing to load any and all energy she could to release on me. As she inhaled as much as she could, she paused, and at this moment I paused and everything went quiet. I watched my childhood. I saw my parents, both good people, push me on a swing on the playground. I thought about the chances I had, the choices I made, and then destruction as she screamed red fury into my face. I couldn't shield myself. I tried to close my eyes, but the sheer force of her voice kept my eyelids from shutting. She was pulverizing me. I couldn't lift my arms and I couldn't move anything. I was frozen in fear and panic. Our brains work in strange ways during extreme stress. I kept hearing a voice tell me to give up, to give in, and then I woke up. A white, clean room. Boring fake wood desk in front of me. Harsh, fluorescent light overhead. Dr. Friedland stares at me. Do you remember anything else, Adam? I don't know why he keeps calling me that. I never gave any real name, I never do. I'm Hollywood. No, doctor, it's never changed. I've explained this over and over again. I passed out after that demon succubus melted my face off. I'm sure that I got arrested, and now I've been here in the psych ward, trying to explain what happened. Dr. Friedland scribbled into his little secretive notepad, as he did in all of our sessions. I'm sure that I'll never get to see those notes. As long as I get out of here, I don't care. Are we done? The good doctor nods his head, shuts his notes, and knocks on his door. This always signals the orderly to come and escort me back to my room. Dr. Friedland picks up the phone as Adam gets shuffled out. Hey, Bill. Yeah, he's fine. Same story, yep. He thinks that I've been talking with him much longer than I have. I think this is only our second session since he's been here. You remember he wasn't ready to be seen for quite a while. For security reasons. Yeah, he sure does. He's staying with that story that he was a bank robber. I know. People cope with life in very different ways.